score is kind of like a report card or a Carfax or like a whole facts on your man. You know how you want the whole facts. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ryan with Mama's Got a Budget, and thank you so much for joining me. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the most highly requested video that I've gotten in all of my 5 minutes on YouTube, and that is credit. Today's video is going to be just a credit 101 video. I'm going to make this a 3-part series for you guys, and today is just going to be a general overview. So if you guys have watched any of my other videos, you know that I like to get into the background details of things before we jump right in. So that's what we're doing. But before we get started, if you guys are new here, welcome. My name is Ryan and I do budget and finance videos here on YouTube. I am a single mom. I'm 31 from Chicago, and I went to school for finance and accounting, and I work in it every day, but I haven't been applying it to my everyday life. I work with highly compensated physicians, like anesthesiologists and pathologists, people like that, but I wasn't applying what I learned in school and what I do every day in my work life to what I have going on inside of me. So that's how Mama's Got a Budget was born. I take everything that I know from my book smarts at SIU Carbondale, where I graduated from, go Salukis, and my street smarts, which is my experience in my day-to-day life, preparing financial packets, analyzing data, processing payroll, making financial contributions and recommendations, investing, everything like that, and I'm putting it all into my life. Everything that I know, and sharing some tips and tricks with you along the way. So this is my budget journey. If that's something that interests you, go ahead and subscribe and hit the thumbs up button down below. Leave a comment, let me know if you're new, or if you've been an OG with me, here since like December 1st, whatever. So yeah, today we're going to get into Credit 101. So I like to give background details. Like I said, we're going to make this a 3-part series, and this first one is going to be a general overview about credit. So I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've come up with the top 5 things. Once again, I guess my number's 5. I came up with the top 5 things that I think you need to know when talking about credit, when even thinking about credit, when trying to have a conversation about credit, things you need to know, okay? So let's do this first. Full disclosure, I'm not a credit expert or anything like that. This is just a general video sharing my knowledge. Any tips and tricks that I share with you guys in this video or ever on my channel are just general tips as to what I found out along my journey. But just like you, I'm learning every day. So if you guys have any specific questions, you can go ahead and leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them based on what I know and what I've been through, then I will suggest you, go elsewhere, like, oh, look at this article, or maybe you need to talk to this person. Kind of like that. I won't ever steer you wrong, just, talking out of my ass like that. So don't take everything that I say as gospel. Just know that it's what I have learned along the way. So the first thing is, what is credit and why do you need it? Like, really, what? Like, what is this whole umbrella term of credit, and why is it so taboo and so daunting, and in your 20s and you want to have good credit and all that stuff? So what is it? It's simply your financial power. It's just putting a numerical value on your ability to pay for things later based on what you want right now. So it's kind of like your credibility. If I had to rate your credibility on a scale of 1 to 850, where would you fall? And it's based on a ton of factors that we will get into later. Why do you need credit? You need credit for basically everything nowadays. I plan to do a video of things that I wish I knew about money in my 20s. That's also coming, but I didn't know that credit would be so profound in my life. You need credit for getting a loan of any sort. Like when I was going to school at SIU, I was the first one to graduate or even attend a 4-year university. So no one in my family knew that you needed to have good credit in order to get these loans. No one knew. I couldn't have a cosigner or anything like that. So it was really tough for me to get through school and get these loans and everything because I didn't know that I needed to have good credit. Now, sometimes no credit is worse than bad credit, but that's a whole nother topic that we'll have to get into later. So you need things for like getting a loan, like getting a car loan. If you can't just go to CarMax and just, get a car and you haven't been paying your bills on time, things like that. Buying a house, buying a condo, something that I want to do. Or even getting a job. It's crazy nowadays that some jobs even check your credit, because if you think about it, when you're walking into a job interview, they don't know you from a can of paint. A credit score is kind of like your history on what you have done in the past, especially like in a job in a field that I'm in, finance. It's definitely likely, they didn't at my job, but it's definitely likely that they'll check your credit score, because how are you going to be giving someone financial advice or things like that if, you can't even pay your bills on time? Or why do I expect you to come to work every day if you have all these outstanding loans with all these lenders or things in collections? You know what I mean? So it's very likely that they could check your credit even at a job interview. So having credit is very, very important. Now, remember when I said if you had to rate your credibility on a scale of 1 to 850, where would you fall? That is like the general score. So if it's rated from 0 to 850, it's kind of based on things that you might not know. So where do you get this number? You have to get it online or with a business professional. You can't just, go to your cousin Day Day and have them look up your credit score. Like, no, it doesn't work. You can't just Google your name and find your credit score. No, it doesn't work. So you have to go to accredited sites, right? I personally use Credit Karma. That's my favorite. They also have things like Credit Sesame and a couple other ones, free ones, but they also have ones that you have to pay for. But by law in America, you are entitled to one free annual credit report. So that means once every year you are entitled to see your whole credit score, from any comments, remarks, collections, to anything that there ever was under your name. If your mama ever put the cable bill under your name, things like that, it's going to be on this credit report that you are entitled to once per year. Now, if you log on to sites like Credit Karma, like I said, for example, they also have an app. Of course, everything has an app, but the actual online, going on a computer and sitting down and typing creditkarma.com has more information than the actual app. So that's also something to take into consideration. Now, these sites are free. Like I said, Credit Karma, all you need is your social security number and things like that, and you set up a username and password. So it's super simple. You can even set up alerts so like when a new line of credit is opened in your name, for example, or if your credit score dips or rises or, whatever happens. So it's very easy to stay on top of. You just have to take that first step, to sign up for it. So checking your score, like on Credit Karma, gives you 2 scores. 2 out of 3 scores, I should say. It gives you your Equifax and your TransUnion. Now the other one is called Experian, and that's like a whole separate one where you mainly use that one for when you're getting a house. But Credit Karma gives you TransUnion and Equifax, and sometimes those numbers can vary, and I'll get into that in a second when I talk about how your credit score is scored. But you may notice that they vary slightly or whatever. But on this free credit report, it's actually called annualcreditreport.com. Go there and sign up. It's actual like paper that's delivered to your house about everything. So it takes a while. It's not as instant as Credit Karma or Credit Sesame or any of these instant apps or anything like that. It's actual like a packet that's mailed to your house that's like typewriter font, and it just goes on and on. There's so many pages, stuff that you forgot about, addresses you probably forgot that you lived at, everything like that. So these 2 scores that are given to you on Credit Karma are basically used as a guideline as to where you fall. If you want to know a closer number, you can take the average of the 2 by adding them together and dividing by 2, and you'll figure out where you are a little clearer on that. But most places will take the one that they don't show you, which is the Experian, and apply that as your overall score. Now, since we're talking about credit scores, right? How do they get this number? We said, right, from 0 to 850. 0 meaning horrible, no credit, basically. And 850 meaning you are the perfect human being, which is so hard to obtain. So don't get down and out if you can't. That's insane. That's super hard to obtain. So how is it scored? Credit score is kind of like a report card or a Carfax, or like a whole fax on your man. You know how you want the whole fax. He come up to you in the club like, what's your social? How many baby mamas you got? How much does your job pay? Do you have anything set aside for retirement? Like, you need to know the rundown. So a credit score is your rundown. It's just your financial history, what you have applied for, what you've actually opened, what you've paid, and what you haven't paid. That's it. That's your overall credit score. Most places, when you have accounts open, they will report to the credit bureau once per month. So once a month, your score is updated. It's different times at the month, but once per month, your score is updated on that account. So like Capital One, for example, I figured out that Capital One usually reports on the 4th business day of the month. So by the 4th business day, I can count on, if I've made a Capital One payment, that it updates on my credit report. So if we're talking about how it's scored, it's usually 5 major chunks. I'm telling you, my number is like 5. So first we have your payment history. Your payment history is the most important thing. If you can't pay your bills on time, why would anyone let you open up another account? You know, why would a bank trust you to buy a house? Why would, Torrid trust you to pay your bill on time, even if you're just opening up a store card, things like that. So number 1 is your payment history. Make sure you are making your payments on time. That's it. Even if it's the bare minimum, having a late or missed payment on your credit report, it hurts you so bad. And it's so sad, because I wish I had known that once I had my son, I fell behind in my bills, and Capital One kind of fell by the wayside. And those things stay on your credit report for 5 years. Another 5. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. So those things stay on your credit report for at least 5 years. But if your account is still open, you can redeem yourself in a way. So a late payment that I made last, let's say a late payment that I made 5 years ago in December will be rolling off this December when they report for it on January 4th. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like a rolling thing, and everything falls off, but you have to wait very long for it. And let's say between 5 years ago and today, I'm trying to buy a house, but those late payments are showing up from when I had Elijah, and my payment history just went downhill. I'm not going to get accepted until I start getting my act together, making on-time payments, and those other payments fall off. So you want to make sure you're paying your bills on time. Payment history is the biggest chunk of your credit score. The next thing is debt usage. Debt usage is like when you obtain new debt, right? Credit card, that's new debt. Debt that you have access to. Debt that you think is free money that's actually not, right? So let's say you get a new credit card, it's up to $7,000. Okay, cool. Then you turn around and you buy a whole bunch of stuff, and your credit card bill comes out 2 months later to $6,500. Okay, excuse me, say what? So that means that you're using over 92% of the available balance to get through life. So no lender is going to lend you even more if they see that you're only getting by the skin of your teeth with this one. So make sure that your debt usage is below 30%. When you get above 30%, even 32%, it starts to get a little dicey, and you're cutting it close in their eyes. So if you can take anything, if you can just take your available balance, like your credit limit, divide that into thirds and stay well below that, then you're in good shape. They also check the age of your credit. They want to know that you have obtained credit and have been using it responsibly for a long time. They don't want, not saying that they don't want like they don't want new applicants, but it's much harder to judge your past if you're just getting into the game. So if you are fresh into the game, let's say you just got your first Discover card, for example, and you've had it for 3 months and you made 3 on-time payments. That seems like it's good enough, right? For you to go, skip into the car dealership and get you a car. It's not really feasible for them to get you a car or a car with a good rate if they see that you have never had any credit before, but this one that you do have is really, really new. They want to see someone who has the history. They want to vet, they want to vet in the game. So as much as it's tempting to apply for new credit cards, try to keep it all under wraps. If you're going to apply for credit cards, tip is to not apply for too many, but if you are, apply for them around the same time, because once you apply for a card, it's going to have a ding on your credit report, and that's called a derogatory mark. Derogatory mark is something that impacts you negatively. Credit inquiry is something that can impact you negatively, and that stays on your account for 2 years before it falls off and says what application. You know what I mean? So if you apply for a card and then you wait a year and a half and then you apply for another card, that just knocks down the age of your credit, because each time you apply for a new card, it's taking the age of that credit application, that open account, and applying it to your overall age of your credit. So let's say you've had a card open for 5 years, but then you've also had, so the age of your credit history is 5 years, but then you opened a card 3 months ago. That knocks down your credit history drastically, because it's taking that 5 years and 3 months. So it's taking 60 months plus the 3 months and dividing it by 2. So not only are your accounts growing, but the age of your accounts is getting less and less. And it's a slippery slope when they don't really match up. So payment history, debt usage, and age of credit are the top 3 things. The other 2 things are types of accounts and credit application history. They want to see that you don't just have just a whole bunch of store cards open. They want to see like a diverse portfolio, if we're putting it in like finance investment terms. They want to see like, oh, you have a car loan, oh, you have a student loan, oh, you have a cell phone also in your name, oh, you have a credit card, oh, you have a Discover card, because Discovers are harder to get than American Express cards. So they want to see like a diverse amount of accounts, so they know how you handle different levels of debt. They want to know from the store card, from maybe the Victoria's Secret card that has a $200 limit, all the way up to a student loan that's $50,000 in credit. I'm saying debt. The more diverse your portfolio, the better it is when you're applying for whatever it is, a credit card, a house loan, or anything like that. And the last thing is your credit application history. They want to know that you have not applied for a large chunk of bills. Like, it's okay if you're like shopping around for a home. Something like that is understandable, but not going to every store in the mall and signing your raggedy signature on a credit application. Like, no, that's not good. They don't want to see you trying to obtain new debt when your current the age of your credit is really low, your payment history is shit. You know what I mean? So if you take into account all those 5 things, that greatly impacts your score. Even though credit application history impacts it the least, it's still not any less important. So make sure you're not applying for a whole bunch of things at once. Oh, you're probably like, dang, Ryan, you just telling us what not to do. Like, okay. So even though I want to save most of my tips for how to improve your credit score type of video, I just want you to know that there are a lot of things I learned that can help, but if I can give you the number one thing, is to just make your payments on time. Nothing is worse than an unreliable bitch, than someone who's gonna do something, obtain a credit card, and not do what they say that they're going to do, which is make the payments on time. As rudimentary and as elementary and as obvious, basic as it sounds, you want to build trust with these lenders. You want to keep your word. If you have this obligation, you take the steps to open up these credit cards, these lines of credit. Making your payments on time is the bare minimum you can do, but it has the most weight on your score. So on my second video of the series, I'm going to give you tips on how to improve your score, but just know that overall, number one is just to make your payments on time. It's just that simple. I can get a little bit deeper into the last and final point, and that's what hurts your score. So I don't want to make a whole video dedicated to this, so I can tell you the top 3 things that have hurt my score in the past is maxing out credit cards. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Maxing out credit cards. I had in college, I had one credit card that had a $600 limit. I won't say no one, but my mom really couldn't help me through college. You know, it was all on me. And I think that's where I gained a lot of my independence. I did a lot of growing up in college. I was living off campus at the time. I needed to pay rent, water, cable, and still pay my tuition, right? So I had this one credit card where I needed to eat. I needed some way. So it was like my eating card. And I remember I got so comfortable swiping the card that when it came time at the end of the month, when the bill was due, yet my rent was due the next day, I didn't have enough money to pay it, and the card was completely maxed out. And that was like one of the most depressing times in my life, was when I had this card that was specifically for one thing, but I maxed it out and then I had nothing. Like literally, guys, I had nothing to eat. I would have to go over a friend's house, or go over to my friends who still lived in the dorms, and they had like a meal plan or things like that. And that was the worst that I have ever felt, if I can be real with you right now. So maxing out credit cards, it didn't hit me at the time because of course I was just worried about what I was going to eat, right? But that haunted me for years. And maxing out the card, not making the payment, having the payment go into collections, that's my second thing. Having things in collections definitely hurts your score, because that right there shows, okay, you had ample time to pay this off. You did it. It's in collections. Now a third party is handling it. You couldn't handle it at your own level or with the lender. Now they have sold it. They have lost all hope in you. They have written it off their books. They counted you as a loss, and they've handed it off to a collection agency. That really hurts your score as well. You want to make sure there's nothing in collections, that it doesn't even get to that point. A tip, if you do have something in collections though, don't contact the collection agency. Contact the person or the lender first. So let's say like you have an old Sprint bill or something, and it's now in collections, and it's at ABC Collections Company Inc. Don't call up ABC. Call Sprint first, because you're making those payments to ABC. They have it in their office. They've already paid for it. You call Sprint, who's already sold it. They want to make more of their money back. They want to make more of their money back that they're going to get than ABC collecting it. So the older and older an account gets, the more and more it's worth to the collection agency. So the more and more it's going to cost Sprint when they actually collect on it, if that makes sense. Let's say you have a bill in collections at ABC. You call up ABC. This bill is 3 years old, and their 3-year mark per their contract with Sprint is, if account gets over 2 years old, you owe us 75% of that bill. Let's say you owe Sprint $1,000. ABC company is getting $750 of those dollars, while Sprint is only getting $250. So do you follow me? But if you call up Sprint and you make that payment, you negotiate with them. They already have in their system, okay, how old is this? How much money we're going to get from this? You call up Sprint and say, hey, I know I got this $1,000 bill. Can y'all take $550? Sprint was only going to get $250 from it if you would have called. So of course they're going to take your $550, and you're going to end up paying less. So having things in collections is bad, yes, but if you can get it out of collections, my number one tip is to call the original lender. Don't call the collection agency. It's going to show up on your credit report is that you're just a very dishonest, careless person. So you want to get those taken care of. So if you don't handle it at even the collection agency's level, it has 7 years, right? After 7 years, it can fall off your account, but more than likely, that collections account is going to sell it to another collection agency, and it's just going to keep rolling over. Then once they sell it, your 7-year clock starts all over again. So let's say you've waited 6.5 years and you're like, yes, 6 months, this is going to be gone. I'm not going to have to worry about this. At the 6-year, 8-month mark, you get a notice that, oh, hi, Ryan, this is Brian from XYZ Collections. How are you? We hear you have a bill open at Sprint. Would you like to take care of that? So now Sprint has sold it to ABC, who sold it to XYZ. Now your whole cycle starts all over again. So it's just one big mess, and you don't want to let it get that far. And like I was saying, even if you don't handle it at the collection agency level, there's one higher. And I'm telling you guys all this because I've been through this, okay? And it's called public record. Now, public record is something that like gets the courts, like the actual courts involved. Where I found it on my report is it was a mistake because I've never lived on my own, and it was something where they were saying that I didn't pay rent or something. When I lived on my own, I was in Carbondale, and this place was from someplace in the city. I was like, no, I've never lived there. But that is even worse. I couldn't figure out why I was getting denied so quickly in the door with everything. I'm like, but my credit score, it's up there. I'm doing so much better and all this stuff. But when you read the fine print, I had a public record on my account. Then when I called them up, I'm like, oh, I'm showing that I have this public record on my account. You know, can you give me some details as to back up as to what this is for? They're like, wait, what's your name? Wait, okay, spell that. Okay, what's your social? Okay, where do you live? Like, giving them all these details, it matched nothing that they had in their system. It was actually an error. Me getting that wiped off increased my credit score. It was a while ago, but I want to say it was more than 20 points. So if you can't handle things at the collection agency level and it goes to public record, you're basically like blacklisted, and it's very hard to get even the simplest things with your credit. So be sure to take care of those. Start with the worst and work your way down. Those all hurt your score pretty badly. So you know what helps your score, you know what hurts your score, you know what credit is, and you know why you need it, you know where to get your credit score. That's basically it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it wasn't too rambly. I hope I was able to reel it in. That's like my favorite motion in my videos, I'm noticing. I'm hoping I was able to reel it in for you and you guys understand. So the other 2 videos in the series are going to be how to improve your credit score and just an overall credit score Q&A, because I anticipate I'm going to get a lot of questions in the description, so I want to make a whole video dedicated to your questions that you may have. And like I said, if I'm unable to answer them, I'll let you know. I'm not going to spin you. I'm not that type of person. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this helpful. As always, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.